Hi there everybody! Today I have a fun project using two of the new stamp sets from the latest Ink on 3 release, as well as some of the No Line ink and the Atelier inks for watercoloring. So I'm going to be honest, when I started this card, I had no idea if this technique would actually work. In my head, I thought that it would, and I'll kind of talk you through that as I go. So for right now, I have the Fox and Bunny Hugs and the Forever Friend stamp set, and there are these cute little images in each of these stamp sets. So I'm pulling out the leaves and the butterflies, the little flowers, and I'm going to mount them all together. You see me putting them here in my Misty, but I'm actually going to grab an acrylic block because it's easier for me to work with on an acrylic block for this particular card. So I've grouped them together, and I picked them up with a block, and now I'm just going to stamp them together in that group with the No Line ink. Now, the reason I thought I would use my Misty the first time is so that I could double stamp these to make it darker, but for this technique, I didn't really need to see where I was going to be stamping, so the lighter the ink is absolutely fine, it doesn't matter, and it was quicker to stamp like this. So I'm just going to go around and fill my whole background with these little stamps, and then I'm going to grab some Atelier inks and do some watercoloring. Now, when you no line color with watercolor, what I like to do is just add some color right where the no line outline is, where the ink is, and that will kind of deepen the color, and then you'll have lighter color where the ink is not stamped. I hope that makes sense. Basically, the no line ink picks up the watercolor and intensifies that color. So my idea for the background was, what if I use the Atelier inks to watercolor, and wherever I have stamped those little images, the no line ink is going to grab and hold on to that color and intensify that color, and I'm kind of going to have that trapped underneath, and then the rest of the background where I haven't stamped is going to be a lighter color. And thankfully this worked. Like I said when I started, I didn't know if it was going to work. In my head, I thought that it should work, but I just decided to try it. So I smushed down some Maryland Red, Bee Sting Yellow, and Peacock Blue Atelier inks onto my glass work surface, and I'm just going to messy watercolor this background. Now I chose these three colors because when they overlap, they're going to form the other colors of the rainbow. So I'm going to get my orange and my green and my purple by these colors overlapping. I started just adding globs of color down onto my background. And now you see me coming in here just with the clean water, and I'm going to soften up those edges and get these colors blending. And you can already see where that no line ink is stamped, that color is trapped in that ink. And so it gives you the easiest tone on tone for a multicolored background that I have ever done in my life. I'm just going to go in with my ink off cloth and just clean up any areas where I kind of got a little bit muddy. Then I'll dry that with my heat tool. Check this out, isn't that so cool? So where I watercolored with the Bee Sting Yellow, the no line ink picked up the yellow, and so on and so forth. It's so fun. So I wanted to show you really quickly that I just cleaned my stamps with the Ink Off stamp cleaner. I'm sorry my camera went a little blurry. It'll fix in a second here. My pad is dirty, but that's just from cleaning the stamps. The cleaner that's coming out is still clean, so don't be afraid if your pad gets a little dirty. Same thing with your stamps. People sometimes say that their stamps won't come clean. Just because a little staining is there doesn't mean anything. I just work with the staining. So now I'm going to stamp out my image from the Forever Friend stamp set and do a little bit of watercoloring. Now I definitely considered no line watercoloring for this image, but I thought that the black outline would stand out against that background. So I stamped this image with the Detail Blackout ink. And now I'm going to use some Atelier inks to watercolor. I'm using a small fine tip watercolor brush from Ink on 3, and I am going to color with Marigold Orange, Twiggy Brown, and Paint It Black. So what's on my work surface now is the Paint It Black as well as the Marigold Orange. The Paint It Black rather, I'm just picking up the tiniest little bit to kind of get a gray shadow for the face and for the tip of the tail on the fox. I'm also going to use some more Maryland Red, just again, the tiniest little bit to add some pink to the ears. And what I'm doing is just adding some color at the edge of my stamping, almost like what you would do with no line coloring. And then I'm going to pull that out with clean water. So I have my ink off cloth off to the side. I'm adding color at the edge of the stamp, and then I'm dabbing my color off my brush and just picking up some clean water. In any areas where I thought that it was a little bit too light, I can always go back in with more ink and deepen that color. I like to start off light and then add color. Once I'm done there, I'm just going to cut out that image with my scissors, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment from the Forever Friends stamp set. I love that all of the sentiments are separate, so you can stamp the sentiment that you want. So I decided to stamp the Forever and Friends together. I love this script. I'm using the Detail Blackout ink, and I have just a little die cut stitched shape that I'm going to stamp that on. And then all that's left to do is just assemble the card. Now, I was off camera, but I did add some flicks of liquid pixie dust to the background just to kind of give some sparkle. All I did was put some of the liquid pixie dust down on my work surface and then just flick that onto my background. I'm going to come in and cover my image with liquid pixie dust, which I keep in a small fine tip watercolor brush, and that is going to finish off this card. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again really soon. Bye!